We begin in South Sudan, where heavy gunfire has continued overnight in the capital after government forces stopped an attempted coup. Soldiers loyal to the former deputy president tried to seize power in Juba. Riek Machar was dismissed from his post in July. Machar has said he wants to return for president. And thousands of people have spent the night sheltering in United Nations buildings in Juba. Many fled their homes, leaving their possessions behind as the fighting began. The UN compounds are in lockdown and a dusk to dawn curfew was imposed on Monday night. For more on this, I'm joined by Al Jazeera's Rageh. She's in Nairobi for us. Rawya, what more can you tell us about the fighting?
Well, Elizabeth, we understand that the gunfire continued into the early hours of this morning. In the past half hour, communication really has remained quite difficult to get to people on phone lines in Juba. But in the past half hour, I've managed to speak to the country director of Oxfam, one of the humanitarian agencies operating in Juba. And she told me that the gunfire came from various locations in town. We had heard earlier reports that the gunfire was perhaps concentrated only around military installations. He said it was very difficult to assess who was fighting who or what the nature of the fighting was, that it was too early to tell how things will unfold in the coming hours. She told me that there had been assurances from the government that they could continue operating as usual, but that they, quote, do not feel comfortable to follow that guidance, and that they're coming up with their own guidance, that they're constantly in touch with UN agencies and other organizations on the ground to figure out their movements, given that they have still been confined within their compounds. She confirmed that there are still thousands of people huddled in the United Nations compounds, and said that it's been very difficult to assess their needs given the confinement these own humanitarian workers have been subjected to with the ongoing gunfire.
And why are we seeing this gunfire, this fighting now, Rawya? President Salva Kiir said that the ex-deputy president, Riek Machar, who he dismissed in July, was behind this attempted coup. Do we know any more about that, or where indeed Riek Machar is?
Well, the picture remains quite murky. The accusations were very clear from President Salva Kiir that his arch-rival, the former vice president who he dismissed in the summer, was behind what was described as an attempted or an alleged attempted coup. We have not heard from the other side yet. We understand that a number of politicians had been rounded up, those who are supportive of the former vice president and who are against President Salva Kiir. They've been rounded up. It's not clear if the former vice president is among them or not, and his whereabouts remain quite unknown up until this moment. Of course, Tuesday is going to be crucial in determining just how this crisis unfolds, whether we're going to see the violence extend beyond Juba into other parts of southern Sudan. And of course, a very big concern, given that some of the fighting is along ethnic lines, and given the competing tribes from which the president and vice president comes from, this is going to be a primary concern to keep an eye on in the coming few hours.
Thank you very much for that, Rawya. That's Rageh joining us from Nairobi.